is to try and understand how coaches evolve in the way that they think about themselves, the way they think about their clients, the way they think about their practice. And it's clear that there are 4 basic mindsets. It's not just the client. What is happening around the client and the boss themselves, so that the sponsor of the coaching may actually be a large part of the problem. Well, artificial intelligence can already do most of what basic level coaches can do. It is just a process that's easily replicable. AI can do it as well or better.
Okay, thank you, David, for coming and joining this interview. How are you?
In our wonderful office.
In our wonderful office in Thailand. So how do you find Indonesia and Bali?
As always, nice and warm in every sense of the word. Warm in the climate, warm in the people.
Warm in the people. Warm in the food too?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yes. So I'm wondering, because you're one of the global pioneer in coachings. So Tim Gallery, he came from sports, right? And then entering the coaching field. And then Professor Sir John Whitmore, he came from management consulting perspectives. But I see that both those two pioneers still bringing coaching into the perspective of performance-driven.
Yeah.
So what drove you? What drove you to coaching?
For me, the starting point is conversation and the quality of dialogue that people have.
Okay.
So not debate, not discussion, but dialogue, genuine creation of meaning by coming together and talking with a purpose. I combine that with many years of working on corporate governance and ethics and other areas and similar areas. So this combination of enabling people to have conversations that create value.
Conversations that creates value. When you relate with your previous field, where this concern, interest, and passions of conversations come from?
I think because I was a journalist to begin with.
Okay.
And my early journalistic roles as a young man were to help people from different disciplines communicate with each other. And so writing up a story, I worked on New Scientist. That magazine still exists. It's a great magazine. But I was the technology news editor there. I helped people from different aspects of science and technology understand. So somebody who's working in physics or somebody in engineering or biology, my role was to help them be able to take what was happening in the other disciplines and apply that to what was happening in their discipline.
Okay. So from that perspective, what is the purpose of coaching then, from your perspective?
Coaching is to help people have the conversations that they need to make better decisions.
To make better decisions. So what do you think about the perspective that coachings are our intervention methodology to facilitate other people to get a better performance, or to change behaviors, or to achieve what they really want, to get solutions? What do you think?
Improving performance, behaving differently. Those are choices that we make, the decisions that we make.
Okay.
So, and therefore, those are just purposes or applications of coaching.
Okay, that's just the result, but it's not the outcome of coaching or purpose of coaching itself, is it?
Starting point.
It's a starting point.
So better decision, mentoring and coaching both create clarity.
Yeah.
And so we help people see through all the fog of everything that's around them. So, which tells them, as you part the mist, you can see where you want to go and why.
Okay.
And then once you've done that, how you do that is very much up to you. Coaching can help you think about the journey.
Okay. So I'm thinking that once you have the clarity, sometimes, or in many times, your goal kind of like expanded, or your directions can change as well.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So the first, the starter point of achieving certain particular performance level or changing a particular behavior may not be relevant during the journey of coaching, is it?
Basically, the first part is, who am I?
Okay.
Yeah. So who is the person I am now? Mm-hmm. And who is the person I wish to be?
Okay.
So it's less about what do I want to achieve, which is the performance objective, than who do I want to become.
Yeah.
And if who you want to become is an Olympian sports person, then that's it. Okay, so now there are things you will have to do. So now the achievement comes after the identity.
Okay. So identity is the North Star of the journey of coaching then.
An identity involves values.
Yeah.
So knowing who the person is and who they wish to evolve into is really the starting point, not a goal that somebody sets. Because whatever the goal is, if it's not linked to your identity, you're less likely to achieve it. And if you do achieve it, you're less likely to value it.
Okay. And you have this research about coaching maturity, shifting from the model-based into the systemic-based. Can you tell a little bit about it?
What we've done over 20 years now is to try and understand how coaches evolve in the way that they think about themselves, the way they think about their clients, the way they think about their practice. And it's clear that there are 4 basic mindsets. And originally we thought that perhaps you have to go through them one by one. We realized that's not the case. You can adopt them, but it requires a great deal of personal maturity to get to the higher levels of coaching maturity. So essentially what we're doing here, we are increasingly letting go of control. So at the beginning, you've got to control the conversation. You're doing coaching to people. And at the end, you've transcended all of that. You basically are in a situation where you hold the client while the client has the conversation they need to have with themselves. And that's a very different starting point for a conversation.
Okay. So what do you think about coaching that is really goal-focused and solutions-focused on also actions-oriented conversations?
It's one application of coaching in a particular circumstance.
Okay.
But it's perfectly valid.
Yeah.
Somebody has, in particular, a short-term goal, which is directly related to something that is important for them to achieve, where they are supported by their environment, which is equally important. Because if your environment is against you, if the whole system is pushing you away from it, you're not going to achieve it. It's fine in those circumstances, but when we're trying to somebody is trying to have a long-term evolution of who they are,
okay,
and then it doesn't work so well, because long-term goals dissipate, and they change.
Yep.
And none of us is the same person we were 6 months ago, let alone 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So when you see coaching as a coaching more mature, you mentioned in your research that coaches tend to see coaching conversations and the client itself from the systemic point of view. Can you explain a little about it?
Well, people are limited in how much they can change, by how much the environment allows them to change. One of the things, for example, an organization will say, come and coach this executive.
Yeah.
We want them to improve in this and this. But that assumes that the problem lies within the client themselves. It doesn't lie in the problem, not often. It's not just the client. What is happening around the client and the boss themselves, so that the sponsor of the coaching may actually be a large part of the problem. When we did research into how people were rated by their bosses in terms of being good or bad communicators, what we found was that actually when the boss rated somebody as a bad communicator, it wasn't the individual themselves; it was the boss that was a bad communicator.
Yeah.
So you've got to see the whole system.
Okay.
Supporting them. You take somebody from a Western manager and put them into a company in Russia, and they try and behave in the way that they feel they should.
Okay.
But the culture won't allow them to.
Yeah.
So the system around them is an important factor.
So it's the system inside them, as the system in their mind, how they're middle of the world, but also the systems around them that influence them.
Exactly.
Okay. So back again, David, the terminology of coaching itself comes from sport, where coaching is more into giving instructions, telling people to do. So why this conversational methodology or this field, all of you, the pioneers of this field, choose the word coaching and not other type of words?
I would say it's one of the big mysteries, but it's not really. It's because the word coach, which was just a carriage, like a bus, in that today. It has a strong associations with coaxing and persuading. So it's a conversation that's at the root of it. So, coaching is a way, in essence, of enabling somebody to do the good thing, the thing that they know they should.
Help you transporting people from one places to another. Okay. So when you see from your research that more mature coaches tend to see the client from their inner systems in their mind, how they see the world, and also the outer system, their interactions with the systems and the surroundings that influence them to shape them who they are, to make them understand about themselves. What do you think about our approach in Vanaya when we try to expand this again to enable coaches to also understand the underlying brain system that creates that system of their mind systems and the surrounding as well?
Well, the more that we understand how and why we do what we do, and why we think what we think, and why we feel what we feel, the more we're able to make choices.
Okay. Yeah.
And in relationships with other people, if we just react, then we limit our ability to be effective. If we are able instead to recognize what the initial reaction is, we can then change and replace that with something else that's more positive.
Okay. So with I'm trying to introduce brain-focused coaching approach, where the coach really understand why actually what is in their brain, or what is their brain habit that underlies that kind of reactions. What do you think about it?
I think it's important that they do actually really understand when I feel this or when I think this, that I have to step back and say, is that appropriate? Does that meet my values? How will this enable me to achieve what I want to achieve?
Yeah.
And I think we're beginning to realize more and more that it's not just about the head.
Yep.
It's about the brain and the gut. It's
the nerves, the whole nervous system. Yeah. The whole nervous system. It's not only head. I understand that. And I agree completely with you. But at the end, people are not neuroscientists. So people don't know exactly what is happening in their brain and the whole nervous systems. So in that sense, to help clients to understand why they're behaving such a way, why they respond in that way, the coach also needs to kind of like educating or expanding the perspective of the clients. But at the same time, on the other hand, there is a belief that coaching is all about asking questions and not telling anything to the clients. What do you see?
Well, that's one of the great myths. And at its simplest, If you have information that will help the client with the quality of their thinking about an issue, and you don't share it with them, you choose not to share it with them, that's not being client-centered. But in some cases, if the client is going to do something stupid or dangerous, it's actually unethical not to share information with them. There's this big difference between giving somebody some context, some information that improves their thinking, versus giving them advice and telling them how they should think.
Oh, so it's a different perspective about telling them what to do and sharing some knowledge that can expand their way of thinking.
Yeah.
To understand their context.
Yeah. People sometimes, a client will sometimes say, look, what would you do in these circumstances? A beginning coach often panics at that. No, I don't tell you what to do. Whereas a more mature coach will say, well, I could tell you what I would do, but that's me in my value system and my circumstances and in my experience. But what I can do, I can give you some questions or some thoughts that come from my experience, and then let's explore those.
Okay.
So one of the key things which I found in my relevant experience of this is how important it was to consider whatever. So let's take that issue.
Okay.
So now we focused it down on an issue. We've not asked a question. We're not really given them any more than a framework, just something that to start their thinking.
Okay. Okay, interesting. But David, coaching and mentoring is well accepted around the globe because it really touched the right buttons, which is to help to achieve high performance. Okay. To change behavior. So it is well accepted by organizations across the globe. But when you mentioned about coaching from the conversational point of view, sometimes for people it is vague, it's so abstract. So how do you think that, how can we know that coaching is effective? How to measure the efficacy of coaching if it is from the perspective of expanding the way of thinking and then having this kind of, persuasive dialogue?
Well, there's two key questions. So what's changed for you? What have you achieved is one level, but that's level one. Level two, which is much more important because it builds capacity for the future, is what have you learned? And if you focus on the learning that people take, they don't just apply it to the original issue that they brought. That learning can be applied to multiple issues in the future. So are we giving somebody, it's the old parable of giving somebody a loaf of bread, or are we teaching them how to bake their bread?
Okay. So from your perspective, what is the best way or some best ways to measure whether a coaching conversation is effective or not?
It's what changed in the person's thinking. So, if you like, in your terms, what changed in their neural pathways?
Yep. Okay.
Has it had a significant effect in the way that they respond to external and internal stimuli?
Okay. From the company or organization perspective, how to measure that? Because we are living now, coaching is one of the system in this whole big systems that sometimes need quantitative or concrete proof. Yeah, right.
So there are three things. There are three kinds of outcome.
Okay.
There's performance, which is what we do now. So somebody runs slightly faster.
Okay. So performance-driven coaching. Yeah.
There's capability, which is building the strength in their muscles so that they will run even faster tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's capacity, which is about the horizons that are opening up for them, so that in the future they will be able to run with, for example, less effort.
Okay, so efficiency, for example, or productivity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the older we get, the more shortcuts we take in our thinking.
Okay.
So we become more effective.
Yeah.
Because we we're able to think that little bit more faster.
Yeah.
About difficult issues, put things together more quickly. It's that capacity.
Okay. So then the brain focused coaching approach, then do you think that measuring the effectiveness, the efficacy of coaching from the significant changes of their neural pathways will be
absolutely, it's one of the measures we can apply.
Okay. So, and
well, the question though is how long does it last?
How long does it last, or should it last? I mean, like from when you mentioned that coaching is about expanding the people, the way of thinking.
Yeah.
Should it be permanent, or should it be keep expanding?
Yeah. That's up to the choice of the person, isn't it?
Right. Exactly. So, from this is 45 years of pioneering this field, and then you see how do you see the development of the coaching and mentoring field?
Well, I think it's fascinating how we've seen gradual development of the horizons of coaching.
Okay.
So, helping somebody in a sport improve, so they can take those extra few seconds off a mile of running or skiing or whatever the sport is, to helping people make better decisions at work. But if we've gone from focusing on the individual in a little limited context, in a small system.
Yep.
I'm very often not even thinking about the system. We just want their internal system rather than the combination of the
individual and his or her thinking and his or her behavior or performance.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've now gone into thinking about them in their systems.
Yeah.
And then we can start to say, okay, well, how do we coach the immediate system? So that takes us into coaching the team.
Okay. So it's kind of there's a shift from coaching a person.
Yeah.
Or human being into coaching a system.
Yeah.
Coaching the team.
Yeah. So we
organization.
Coaching the individual to coaching the individual about changing the circumstances, the system around them.
Yep.
To coaching the team, part of that bigger system.
Yep.
And then we see coaching teams of teams. So how
teams of teams. Yeah.
We see what we might call organizational coaching, which take
coaching the whole organizations. Yeah.
And coaching the meta system. The conversations that need to be taken in, for example, countries which are competing for water resources.
Yeah.
And what we see in politics is conflict, constantly, and confrontive conversations, where with coaching we can actually achieve much better outcomes for everybody.
Yeah, because people talk openly, right? And from that perspective, do you think much better to expand systems further, seeing coaching as a coaching culture, or embracing coaching as an ecosystem?
Both. I think that's why we've got this program, which we are gradually introducing to try and create 5 million school-age coaches and mentors. Because if young people start their careers with this coaching mentality,
okay,
then they can manage their own careers better, but also they bring that way of thinking into organisations. And if I talk about we talk about 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. I think the 4th R is reflective
coaching. Okay, coaching capability. Yeah. Yes. And so with the disruption of digital technology, how will you see coaching's field will, I don't know, disrupted or even expanded?
Well, artificial intelligence can already do most of what basic level coaches can do. It's just a process. It's easily replicable. AI can do it as well or better.
Okay.
So we have
better questions. Yeah.
Even appear more empathetic.
Yeah.
Because it's now becoming easier and easier for AI to empathize.
Yeah.
Or appear to it.
To appear to empathize, even though they have no emotions. Yeah.
So so that's going to replace a lot of the basic coaching, which means that the coaching in the future has got to be more like mentoring. It's got to actually be use yourself, your whole being in service of the client.
Mm-hmm. Because AI would not have the wisdom of a mentor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because AI is wonderful at doing things which are easily replicable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Procedural based.
Yeah,
process based.
So it can have what we would call skinny knowledge, skinny wisdom.
Yeah.
But it cannot as yet put together bodies of knowledge and make sense of them.
Okay.
And so it can do lots of things that we can't. It can see patterns that we don't notice, for example, because our brain is constructed to filter out most of what we see.
Mm-hmm.
But the AI does it very differently. The AI sees everything and makes different selections about what it attends to.
Okay, so bringing wisdom into coachings and expanding it into mentoring is not the thing that AI can easily replicate.
Yeah, because AI cannot experience anything. AI cannot feel anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
AI cannot do intuitive judgment. AI can do instructed judgment where you follow this algorithm, but it cannot create new algorithms of its own.
Yeah, we haven't seen any wise algorithm out there, right? So okay, from that standpoint, if you have advice or suggestions for coaches across Indonesia or Southeast Asia, what is it?
I didn't quite get that one.
Okay, so from that standpoint of coachings, what coaches are really the strength of a coach is actually to bring themselves and their wisdom for the clients. And what is your suggestions for coaches to expand their professions or vocations or their field?
Well, I think one of the simplest things is to plan to do less. Because the more that we try and do, the more we focus on ourselves and our behavior and what we say, and less on the client. So the process of becoming a mature coach is basically about letting go of stuff, letting go of tools, letting go of goals, letting go of techniques, and using them sparingly. At the same time, and reflecting constantly on what am I doing? How effective is it? And who am I becoming? So how do I use myself as an instrument of change?
And how to become the real wise, reflective partner with our clients, which cannot be replaced by any technologies.
So far.
Okay.
But I often say, if I'm doing something on Zoom, for example, and by the way, you have just been talking to a robot.
Imagine that.
Yes.
And then you're going, okay, you're good as a robot. Interesting. So thank you, David, for explaining the horizons of coachings to all of us. Enjoy the rest of your journey in Bali and Flores.
Good.